Rupert's Royal Roundup.
He hates me doing that. Good morning, Rupert.
Good morning, David. Morning, Renee.
Good morning,
How are you?
Very well. It's been a hectic week because I've been racing all week.
Of course you
Poor
have.
thing.
You poor thing. Where's the hat? Where's the top hat?
But no, it was Cheltenham. You don't wear a top hat at Cheltenham.
It's Cheltenham, Renee.
I used to go to Cheltenham for the whole
course
week
you
when
do.
I worked for the Express, because that was in the day when newspapers had budgets and had tents at these things, and we used to just entertain.
How was Cheltenham? Good?
Great fun. There was plenty of royal presence, but no, it was good fun. I was working for a sister station within the building, not a million miles from where you're sitting now. So I've had a fun-packed week. There was the Queen concert turned up. Princess Royal was there on hand to present the Cheltenham Gold Cup, and Zara, who's a director of Cheltenham, I think was there all 4 days. So I managed. So I was at least keeping an eye on what some matters royal last week.
Well, you got top trumps. You got them all almost, didn't you? Well done, Rupert. Very good. Now, obviously, I assume we're talking about the coronation. It's not long, really, to go.
I think it's 7 weeks. And, of course, as the final preparations are in place, and inevitably there's a lot... excuse me, a lot going on with regard to the procession. And how is the procession going to work? Now, clearly, the King and the Queen will be in the front carriage, and then in the second carriage, it's expected that it will be the Prince and Princess of Wales and their children. So they'll have, be in a prominent position. But, of course, non-working royals will not be part of that procession, and so they will be elsewhere. Now, of course, that comes down once again to the inevitable question: what happens to Harry, Meghan, and their children? Now, obviously, they're small children, 4 and 1. You would think, and I think this is where we've got to make sure that we see this from what it is. They're very young children. A 1-year-old at something like that is hard to manage.
Can I just interject? So they are coming now, are they?
No.
Right.
Now, they're planning to come.
Right.
The organisers are planning that they come because, as they say, it's easier to fill the place if you've thought about it. Do you see what I mean? And
yes.
If they don't come, then you can immediately bump somebody up into the seat that they were due to sit in. So actually, that is the sensible and prudent way to go about this.
Right.
However, we still don't know, and that's the issue with the whole thing.
Rupert, you need a doctor.
Well, I've got two on hand here. You can tell me what's going on. It's been a busy week. So that is the issue at stake here. Now, if you've got that's why they're still working out what to do with Louis, because as we know, he's quite a rambunctious young lad, judging by his efforts last year at the Platinum Jubilee. Great fun, but obviously this is a more state occasion, and I'm sure they would like him around and in the carriage, because as a family moment, it's right up there with the best, I would imagine, particularly as a member of the royal family. So that is the issue. At the moment, I'm sure discussions are going on with the Sussexes as to how they can be managed, I think, more than anything, and actually for everybody else's sake. So that is probably what's going on. Yet, still, I think they, in many ways, but just for everybody's sake, just make a decision. Presumably, seven weeks away.
Rupert, I think it's a real shame now that as we lead up to the coronation, the main thrust of all of our conversations are about Harry and Meghan rather than the King.
Well, this is the issue, and this is why I think, for Pete's sake, just let's know one way or another, and then everyone can move on, whatever way it is.
Well, I think they need to... Well, shouldn't they just say to them, right, we need to know by the end of play today, otherwise you're not coming? Well,
I think that maybe there'll have to be a cut-off point, and I think that's part of the issue. And you can go beyond one of the security things. There's been this court case. The Home Office wanted them to give 28 days' notice when they come here with this court cases is still... between them and the associated newspapers about his security arrangements and the Home Office. So there's a lot going on here behind the scenes. And while the relationships with members of the family are fractured, this is actually the nuts and bolts of a hugely complicated ceremony that needs to be organised with every detail, because things are going to have to be rehearsed. People need to know, right, where the cars are going to... I mean, it's just a monumental logistical exercise that is, people are working round the clock. You may not think it, but they're having to work round the clock because they're having to bring all these different parties and things together at one time. so that people know exactly what you're doing. We saw that at the Platinum Jubilee. That was a monumental logistical exercise, bringing all the troops in where they were stationed. That's just one aspect of it. And while Harry and Meghan, they are members of the royal household, they will be planning to come. But again, it's what they're going to do with the non-working royals, how they sit within the framework of the service and post the coronation, what they do with them. So there's a lot at play here, and clearly it's probably frustrating one or two of the people who are actually doing the organising, because they would actually like to know what's going on.
I'm sure they would. Just in terms about the seating plan, has that all been sorted out now and finalised?
Well, I wouldn't know whether, I'm sure that's one of the most complicated things, and that's part of probably the optics for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Where do they sit? Absolutely. Are they put into Purda down at the back end of the church, or in the back of secreted in the back of Westminster Abbey, or are they in a slightly more prominent position? So this, these are and that would probably apply to heads of state, the protocol of where they're going. So it's not just the Sussexes. It will be across the whole board. Who needs to be sat where? If you're trying to organise a family wedding, it's complicated enough.
It really is.
Great Aunt Bertha wants to sit at the front, but you don't want Great Aunt Bertha because she might be a slight embarrassment.
Well, she might be on the sherry.
Yeah, well, exactly. So therefore, these are the issues that need. This is magnified way beyond just the sort of the normal. And it's not just the Sussexes, it's everybody where they sit.
Can I just put something to you? Paul in Fufa said the prudent thing, surely, is not to invite the two of them at all. Nobody wants them there. They'll be loving everything, and they'll love the idea that everyone's going through all these hoops to get them accommodated. Don't invite them.
Well, there may be some truth in that, but the king wants his family around him. Let's come down to the nuts and bolts. While, yes, it is a state occasion and has implications on that, but actually, they've walked away from the royal duties and the royal household and their responsibilities, but he's still the king's son, and that, they've gone and decided to life in America.
The one thing I was reading this morning is about members of Parliament who are very upset that they don't get seats at the coronation, and they're being allowed near the Palace of Westminster, and they may have to stand up.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness, poor them. I mean, I'm sorry. This is the problem. It's not like it was in 1953. MPs have got to get over themselves. That's easier said than done, because there's only room for 2,000. And there are, if you are, I'm not saying, a backbencher, then perhaps you may not be worthy of it. I'm not saying they're not worthy, well, currently. I'm thinking of myself a bit of a great corner here. But
Final question. Where's your seat in the coronation?
To be discussed, but I don't think I'm going in the building. And it's up to the big boss at TalkTV where I go. So
next to me and Renee is the answer.
Well, I might be talking to you on the Sunday morning, but maybe the Saturday morning if you've already been booked. But anyway, it's going to be a huge occasion for the weekend. But of course, everyone wants it to go off without a hitch, and that's why these people are working flat out to try and ensure that on every level.
Rupert, thank you very much, as always. And